Well, our bodies are really just a collection of big sensory feedback loops that, like, our whole nervous system has a wiring out from our nervous system and a wiring into our nervous system. So it helps you where you're at and feel where you are in space. There's sort of nerves that are responsible for you feeling or perceiving hot and cold and sharp and dull. There are specific nerve fibers in your body that are nociceptors, they're there to help sense pain. But because it is such a wired, connected system, and your brain, which is what helps perceive and make sense of everything, gets just constantly barraged by a lot of data, you can end up misperceiving non-noxious stimulus as a pain sensation. So, but that's like our bodies, these big electrical grids with a certain number of amps running through them, and will hold tensions in certain areas, or we'll end up paying more attention to one area or just completely ignoring other parts of our bodies based on experience and traumas and pains or injuries.
So when you're experiencing pain, some of those neurons that you call nociceptors, they're firing, and like evolutionarily, they're there to fire to give you sensory information that's useful. So how would that create the messed up loop? Like, what fires together to create a chronic pain that's not informative?
Well, initially, like you roll your ankle, you probably might tear some tissues in the tendons and the ligaments, and your body will send inflammation to the area and try to fix it up. And also, that will irritate nerve endings in there. Your brain's going to get that and be like, ow, my ankle hurts.
And at that point, that's helpful because it's telling you not to step on your foot.
Right. It's like you need to protect this area. Now you need...
Yeah.
Over 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes longer, your body's pretty good at actually healing those structures. But your body may have spent 4 to 6 weeks in sort of having your nervous system kind of be like, hey, there's something's going on wrong down here, something's going on down here. You progressively, as it heals, ideally, you can start progressively walking on it and using it again, and you start to habituate your nervous system.
But they both talk about the brain as having essentially two simulations of reality. One of them is a very embodied sensory simulation. And then there's a cognitive simulation of that experience. Nietzsche called that the mere appearance of mere appearance. Like, you're far away from the phenomena. Because it's hard to imagine, how does a brain hurt but not know it? And the person just reports like, what are you talking about? I'm super cool. I'm chill. But in reality, I guess if you measured their neurology, they're like kind of in pain.
View your nervous system is just an extension of your brain, and it spreads out through your whole body. One of the sections of my book was called Your Body More Than a Vehicle to Walk Your Head Around.
I love that.
Because it's like you talk about just reliving and having the hamster wheel of brain versus actually experiencing your inner self.
Because so much of the way the brain works is to project down to reality what you're seeing. And like that happens on a visual level. Like if a letter is ambiguous in a word and it could be an O or a Q, our brain is going to project down O because it's so much more likely to be O.
Yeah.
So
I've experienced firsthand, just visually after all my eye injuries and things, I just totally destroyed all the vision in my right eye. And then I went from being like 50-50 vision to 20-20 vision to losing all of the vision on one side, and then some of it coming back and it being all blurred and distorted, and getting more of it, and then my eyes pointing in different directions and seeing literally two pictures of the world that didn't that like trying to talk to somebody, have another dancing head of them over their shoulder. And then slowly over time, after I stopped having all the surgeries on it and just kept doing stuff and moving around, my brain getting better at learning when to ignore the information it was getting from my right side, and and it changed my consciousness level. Even though I'm still fairly legally blind in my right eye, my visual perception of the world is more normal now, even though nothing's structurally improved within my eye. So that's where different
That's really interesting.
your body starts to tune into what should I pay attention to, what should I ignore, and that's a big part of the premise of helping people with physiotherapy is both helping them. You got to get them doing some repetition stuff, help them tone some things down, help them pay attention to other things, both physically and cognitively, to help them get their conscious experience of the world to be more comfortable.
And it makes me think of this other metaphor for consciousness that like being conscious is being the rider on an elephant. And you think you're driving the elephant, but the elephant is driving the elephant. And to the extent that you have influence, it's through very subtle connection to the elephant. And it's not because you pulled so hard in one direction. And being tense as the rider of the elephant is not going to help you feel what's happening for the elephant. So,
yeah, working with people that have had of different ages all day and different experiences and different levels of traumas and things, you can start to see, think of it as the lens that they experience the world through, but also the level of consciousness that they're able to access is very different. When people get really fixated on pain or really uncomfortable, a lot of the rest of the world falls away and they get very sort of tunnel visioned.
Yes.
And so you have all this sensory info coming at you, but you're only paying attention to one of them. That might
kind of a coping strategy for like too much is happening.
And for some people, pain becomes their identity, like just being uncomfortable and just sort of, and if they actually have moments of feeling, if they can take that pain away from them, sometimes some people's brains are just sort of anxiously looking for what else is uncomfortable, and have something to worry about, and that can
a lot of times when I see that clients are stuck in an obsession with a particular problem or pain, they're actually avoiding another pain or problem, which is a little more existentially painful. And their consciousness is not maybe equipped to handle that deeper issue, that maybe a dream they had is not going to come true, or that they're dealing with way more problems than they wish. And focusing and narrowing from an anxiety perspective, it's a coping strategy. And I think one of the biggest issues when I see people living in pain, which is more psychological, is that they don't attend to the thing that's actually causing the tension.
Yes. Yeah. And it's where a lot of times is I'm trying to take them through a process of zooming out from the area that hurts. And I tell them the best ways to make that feel better is put it in a better environment by paying more attention to things that are above and below it or around it, not necessarily. There's usually
literally, you say like, oh, your pain is here. I want you to feel your elbow. I want you to feel your neck.
Not necessarily tell them to feel it, but like your knee is a good example of like your knee's at the mercy of your hip and your ankle, because it's a hinge that's built in between it. And so the hip above it and the ankle below it can move in a bunch of different directions. And if they start getting really restricted, it can make your knee start hurting more. So trying to not necessarily, people feel they just have to stretch or strengthen something that hurts. Well, like, okay, well, and or just keep rolling out or stretching the side that hurts. And a lot of times it's the other side that's actually tighter, making you compensate for that. They picture that part that hurts as part of a whole. And then just emotionally understand that your body holds tension in different parts of your body for different reasons. Part of those are postural and biomechanical, and part of those are stress, anxiety, fear, and part of that will happen in your muscular system, part of that will happen in and around your organs. So it's usually a hybrid of both.
So when people take that really seriously from you and they start doing that interoception, how do they report the reduction of pain? Or like what is the experience of that pain reducing?
Usually I will have done some kind of treatment to them. Like I talk in my book where I'll do a lot of IMS dry needling and visceral manipulation, like manual therapy, trying to help release tension from around their organs on the inside, and using needles to help calm their nervous system and release tone out of muscles. So particularly the latter, like the needling one, you can have a really immediate impact and change in terms of the tension that you feel. So, and that usually that's got their attention, like, whoa, that feels different now. So now I'm like, okay, I've got you feeling better. Now I'm motivated to help you hold on to that. And then this is how I help you hold on to that by, some of it's what you do, some of it is what you don't do. Like posturally, a lot of people are just sort of ingrained. They have to think chest up, shoulders back and down, and they're compressing everything and pulling it back. And so showing them that in a mirror and helping them like, okay, you got to tone that down a little bit. And every time you catch yourself doing this bracing strategy this way, I want you to learn to breathe in this part of your rib cage or lungs. So
the first thing is you teach them how to sense, and then what's an appropriate response to that sense. And then I also hear that you create like an anchor memory of what it's like to have less tension in that part that they can then like access later. Yeah,
it's a really, again, particularly the needling, it can effectively create an altered state in your nervous system, because like the number of amps running through your nervous system to an area regulates the tone you'll hold in muscles. And if you get in literally,
like you're saying like within your body, there's different levels of amps in different parts of your body, and that's creating some level of your conscious experience.
Of your conscious perception of your feeling of your body, very much so.
Really cool.
So your muscles are supposed to have a certain amount of resting tone to them. They shouldn't be just limp and flaccid. They shouldn't be contracted as strong as they can into knots and bands of tension. They're somewhere in between, so they have the capacity to contract when you need them to, or stretch out when you need them to. The tendons within those, all that your brain's getting all this information from all those little areas of tone all over the place, and that helps give you a sense of where you are in space. So if certain parts of those are really overactive and contracted, that will restrict the movement in an area and can make it get kind of compressed and get kind of sore, put strain on tendons that it can start not moving well and start getting uncomfortable. If you take a needle and put it into the middle of a normal, healthy, happy state muscle, you don't get much reaction from it. You don't feel a lot. If you put it into a muscle and move it in and out a bit to a muscle that's in a bit of a hyperactive state, they're by nature hypersensitive, and they'll kind of contract and react to it, which will feel like a crampy, achy feeling, which will trigger a reflex of relaxation from your nervous system and cause it to just damper the tone down. And almost immediately, a lot of the time, you can then show the person like, look, your hip moves now, or your shoulder moves now, and they will feel that quite differently. Particularly those deep muscles in your hip, when they get tight, they'll kind of end up causing your feet to kind of duck outward. And so you might feel, if you think of how your feet feel when you're standing, they feel like they're pointed straight forward. Look at them and they're actually turned outward. And if you straighten them, it'll feel like they're turned inward. If you needle the hip muscles and then have a person stand, that can completely change proprioceptively how you feel where your feet are in space. So the process of doing that can help people feel that what they perceive to have been normal for a long time can be different. And releasing that can make some of their pain go away. But we're all regenerating sources of tension, both for posture, biomechanical reasons, and emotional reasons that can cause areas to brace and tense again. So I can do that. Person can walk out the door and feel pretty good for a few hours to a few weeks, depending on what they've done or what's causing it in the first place. And then if you work with them over a few weeks, they can start to sense, okay, what it is that they keep doing that keeps triggering the thing to come back. And that's where you can both get some learning on their part and some motivation to be like, okay, now I'm going to listen to you with the, like, teaching me how to change my posture a little bit more. Because I'm tired of you poking needles in me every week.